Okay, back in the van now. I've just finished the inspection. A very large property. Has been quite well maintained over the years. With any of these properties along the escarpment, with the bush directly below, always a really high risk of termite activity or history of termites. In this case, really, there's been a little bit of a nibble, but really insignificant in the context of things from what I've been able to observe at this point in time. So generally, the house serves its intended purpose and is quite a good property. Taking everything into consideration, really, yes, it needs maintenance. Don't forget, it is a sort of 4-year-old house after all, and repairs are always going to be needed. But take things in context, look at them, and make your considerations accordingly. There are plenty of details that are not ideal and really raise the risk of termites as such and decay and are difficult to maintain. Again, you've just got to take those for what they are and what presents itself. So have a look at the video. A lot of information in the video, and any questions, just get back to me and ask me those particular questions. Property to be inspected is located on the west side of the street, facing due east. For the purpose of the report, the land has quite a steep fall from east to west. Self-standing garage to the front of the property, metal roller door and brick exterior, concrete tile, gable roof decal. To the gutters is gutter guard fitted. With the gutter guard, it does keep the leaves out, but you do still get silt within the gutters, and quite important to get those gutters clean so you don't get blockages of the stormwater dispersal system and the like and overflowing gutters to the surrounding areas. Concrete crossover of the council nature strip, and we've got paved details at the front of the property. With the timber retaining walls and garden edging, those timbers are in direct contact with the ground, so the timbers will absorb moisture from the ground. Once they start absorbing that moisture, they get the decay factor, and once that decay factor occurs, they become susceptible to termites. So, even treated timbers will eventually decay and can be attacked by termites as such. So just looking down the southern side of the garage, we've got a timber post that's attached to the garage. That timber has direct contact with the ground. Theoretically, there's a possibility of termites coming up through the middle of that timber and going undetected into the structure. These timber railing fences, if you like, to the southern boundary are weathered with localised decay observed. To the garage, there's a bit of plant overgrowth against the exterior, always a risk of the plant overgrowth that can provide termites with concealed egress. And secondly, it gets in between building elements as it grows in girth, certainly can cause some damage. Timber faces, certainly decay observed to those details. Where you get the moisture wicking into the grain of the timber, you are going to get a fair degree of decay. Now, along the southern gutter of the garage, we see plant overgrowth growing through that leaf guard mesh, and that indicates an accumulation of silt within that gutter detail. In the front yard, or in the yard, various areas of flagstone type retaining walls and garden edging. Generally, the landscaping appears to be pretty tidy. To the rear of the garage, there is this closed tread stair detail with tiles. There is a void under the stair, whether that's accessible or not I haven't determined yet. So there's no access into that void, certainly an area where potentially faults could go undetected. Timber decking attached to the rear of this garage detail. With the timber decking, the timbers are in direct contact with the ground, so plenty of potential, one, for termites to go undetected, but secondly, those timbers will absorb moisture and decay eventually will occur, and certainly we'll see the weathering of those various timber details. Timber posts come right down into the ground once again, and plenty of scope for termites to go undetected. Can't access under the timber decking, so again, areas where faults can go undetected. Dwelling itself is a self-standing brick exterior, concrete tiled gable roof with a north light type detail. Timber pergola to the eastern side. The dwelling is facing due east for the purpose of the report. Now, with the north light type detail, it is very typical for a lot of heat to occur in that area and to get the subsequent condensate occurring. And it's not uncommon for termites to be attracted to the surrounds of a north light window of that type, and you also get a lot more weathering of the timber surrounding a north light. It does require higher maintenance than normal. Just the southern side of the north light window is a rotary extraction fan. That's probably poorly located because you're not getting good wind flow, and she's not going to rotate, but rotary extraction fans are beneficial essentially. Leaf guards fitted to the guttering once again makes it difficult to clean out the gutters at the sill, but those gutters do need to be cleaned periodically. To the front of the property, or to the eastern side of the property, is a timber deck detail. Once again, timber decking, direct contact with the ground, and no bodily access can be gained under that timber decking, so a heightened risk of concealed termite egress. They do really increase the risk significantly of concealed termite damage where those sorts of decks are attached to buildings. Stump or tree stump in the front yard, always a concern. Tree stumps, as part of the natural decay process, quite often will attract termite activity as part of that natural decay process. Timber pergola attached to the front of the dwelling. The timber pergola, where the timbers, any of the timbers that are exposed, obviously moisture can get into the timber sections and you get that weathering, so really important to seal off those timbers. Gutter detail to the eastern side of the pergola. Now, with the pergola, the timber posts go right through the decking. You can't get to the base of them to check them out. And also, you've got this downpipe that goes down under the decking, and any periodic maintenance is always difficult in that type of detail. Obviously, you just can't get to that area. External open tread timber stair in the yard. The timbers have direct contact with the ground. Wherever moisture is getting into the timbers, you're getting the decay occurring, even though these timber details don't appear to be that old. The biggest issue with a open tread stair of this type is the interface between the treads and the stringer. You've got to keep them well sealed so you don't get the moisture sitting in between the two sections of timber and the decay occurring. So, really important to paint and seal those timbers as best as possible. Kitchen detail, we've got cork flooring, laminate particle board bench top, dishwasher under the bench top, stainless steel sink, electric stove, non-ducted range hood over the stove detail. Kitchen generally appears to be quite okay, considering years of wear and tear. A wall-mounted oven appears to have been used recently, so one would assume that that is in working order. Water flow, the kitchen tap is fine. Water hammer observed. Mixer tap is nice and sturdy. Shelving under the kitchen sink, you do get a bit of weathering because of exposure to humidity that naturally occurs to this detail. Consider general wear and tear as such. The interface between the kitchen bench top and the tile splashback really needs to be resealed. What we get worried about is water dropping down the rear of the kitchen cupboards, and that moisture in turn having the potential to attract the likes of termites. Electric stove, few fixtures on it, so I've not tested that at this stage. Range hood over the stove, just the light may have a blown globe and is not in working order. The rest of the range hood is in working order. We've got access opening up into a roof void over the top of the kitchen cupboards. Rake ceilings, with the rake ceilings, no accessible roof voids, so certainly plenty of potential for faults to go undetected in any of those inaccessible areas. There is various storage areas, pantry and the like, all appears to be quite okay. Some of the, with wallpaper and redecoration may need to be considered in the future. This timber wall to the northern side, it generally appears to be quite okay. No higher than normal moisture readings observed. We've got the doors with glazing to the eastern side. With that glazing, quite possible that it's a nil glass. A nil glass can break in shut. Shuts can cause lacerations. So any of the glazed doors, certainly, if you get breakage, worthwhile replacing with the likes of safety glass, be it laminated or toughened. Looking at the details thermally and not getting any significant thermal inconsistencies to these areas. We get to see the ceiling joists and the like. It all appears to be pretty straightforward. Smoke alarm fitted, and there's an alarm fitted. I've not tested either of those at this time. Laundry detail, tile flooring, visible floor waste or floor drain. The laundry, no higher than normal moisture readings observed to the walls. However, you do get discoloration of the walls because of exposure to humidity. There is no extraction fan fitted, so any humidity created by laundry appliances such as the dryer all gets absorbed by the various materials within the dwelling. There is a door to the exterior for natural ventilation, but it's in many cases people don't open the door, and ideally you should have an extraction fan to extract any of the humidity outside the building's envelope. Tub looks to be quite okay. Water flow is fine, and upward hammer observed. Overall, all appears to be serviceable. Entry door detail to the northern side of the dwelling generally appears to be quite okay. A couple of floor coverings to the entry hall, just some loose floorboards or creaky floorboards have been observed in this area, and those sorts of creaks will occur periodically, increase with elevated humidity as such. No higher than normal moisture readings observed for the walls or the like. Rake ceilings, once again, plenty of areas where faults could potentially go undetected. Got a very high timber beam. I can't get up to that beam to actually tap it and be able to check if that timber is completely sound. Just the surrounds of the internal stair, we see that some of these timber panels have been installed over the top of the gypsum plasterboard as a substrate. In some areas, it appears that it's been fitted directly to a timber frame. We do have this feature opening off to the western side of this upper level dining area, and that lacks fall protection. So, always the potential for a child simply to fall down to the lower level through that opening, and ideally, fall protection should be installed to that detail. When I say sounding of timbers, we go across the timbers and just give them a sounding to see if we've got any hollows in those particular timbers. We endeavour to do so where we've got the exposed timbers. Again, gypsum plasterboard and or the timber linings. With the timber linings, it is a western red cedar, so termites don't commonly attack that sort of western red cedar. They will go through it to be able to gain access to some other type of timber. To the southern side of this area, we've got of the dining room, we've got a glazed door that opens out, and there is no landing outside of that door detail. So there's considerable fall from that area. So if that door's open, somebody walks out, they do have a considerable fall, and that is considered a safety issue. Ideally, fall protection should be installed to that detail. Now, with this door, it is weathered. Moisture's got into the joints. The door itself is sagged, swollen, and will need future attention. We do see the fixed windows that you certainly get that moisture coming down the windows from condensate naturally occurring to these details. An additional extraction fan fitted to a lower roof detail. Again, not fitted in the ideal location. It doesn't pick up the prevailing winds or air movement, and therefore it is limited in its serviceability, so to speak. Once again, with the gutters, you'll see that we've got the plant growth growing off that silt that's accumulated within those gutters, and all the gutters really need to be cleaned, but with the leaf guards, it's really difficult to clean those gutters. Lead flashings to the roof details. So that lead contracts and expands a lot and eventually tears. You do need to get up and service those details periodically as part of general ongoing maintenance. Exterior windows to the eastern side of the upper level, we can see that they've done some recorking. That sealant has since broken and cracked again, and will need to be reapplied at some time in the future. Close to its stair to the upper level. The only thing is that there's no grab rail as such. Basically, this side railing is considered to be the grab rail. Upper level hall detail generally appears to be quite okay. Again, we've got the rake ceilings. Smoke alarm's been removed from that ceiling sometime in the past. Generally, things appear to be okay. There is a hall closet to this upper level. Just the door of the hall closet is binding and just needs to be used and adjusted. And we can see that there's been a little bit of structural settlement, some cracks to the wall, quite typical for a building this time. Bathroom detail contains a vanity unit, bath, shower, and a toilet. Tile flooring, there is visible floor waste or floor drain. The vanity unit generally appears to be okay. Water flow's good, and no hammer observed. There is a trap under the sink detail. Bath detail, no vents fitted to the side of the bath. I do like to see vents fitted to the side of the bath because you will naturally get condensate forming to the exterior of the bath detail, and vents allow for that condensate to air off. The other issue you get with the bath is that you get expansion at the rim of the bath when filled with water. When that occurs, that breaks the seal between the bath and the surrounding tiles. Once that seal breaks, what we get concerned about is moisture running down the rear of the bath, and that moisture in turn having the potential to attract the likes of termites. Water flow out of the bath is fine, and no water hammer observed. Shower recess, I can't test the surrounds of the shower recess. It's a back-to-back shower recess with the ensuite in this instance. Water flow to the shower road is fine, and no water hammer observed. Surrounds and tap spindles appear to have been sealed. I can't open those covers, but always important to make sure that they are sealed so you don't get moisture running down the wall tiles into the wall cavity and creating moisture issues to concealed areas. Toilet, stable, functional. Flow is good, and no cracks to the porcelain, no leaks to the plumbing. This toilet has been bedded or set quite high, and can be very uncomfortable to be seated on because of that additional height that's been added. Bathroom has no extraction fan fitted. It would be the welly bird, quite possibly there's a welly bird above this detail, and just depends to the ceiling, but certainly we can see that the ceilings have sagged due to exposure to humidity. The fixed glazing to the north light window has a bit of a gap to the top, which is good to release at least some of the humidity out to the upper atmosphere. Looking at the surrounds of the north light window, looking at them thermally, we see definitively where that condensate typically occurs along the sill of such a north light window, and it's just such a common thing with those north light windows, and we always get concerned that humidity and condensate around the north light window is going to, it has the potential to attract the likes of termites. You can certainly see with the timbers how they've weathered, discoloured, simply because of all that humidity and repeated condensate that typically occurs to that detail. The master bedroom located to the upper level towards the southern side. There's an additional sitting room out to the southern side. Carpeted floor covering, once again, creaks to the floor, built-in robe. There is a roller shutter fitted to the window that is operational, and we've got a vertical sliding aluminium window. Once again, the rake ceilings, the timber beam in this instance, too high to go and tap it and sound it for hollows as such. No higher than normal moisture readings observed. Things do appear to be quite tidy. Now with the closet, the sliding doors have been installed over the original framing of the closet doors, and we see areas of weathering, condensate, discoloration of timbers and the like, and that's just typical to years of wear and tear. Always a concern that some concealed faults may exist, but I'm not finding any evidence of such at this time. Ensuite detail contains a toilet, shower, a vanity. There is no visible floor waste as such into the open areas of this bathroom, and it's always nice to have a floor waste simply if you get spillage or a burst pipe, the water will drain down that floor waste. toilet, stable, functional, no cracks in the toilet, and leads to any of the plumbing. Aged cast iron pipes exist. Those may have limited durability and eventually may need to be upgraded. Shower recess, no evidence of moisture penetration surrounding areas at this stage. Water flow to the shower rose is fine, and no water hammer. So shower recess has been resealed at some time in the past. Vanity unit generally appears to be quite okay. Water flow's good, and no water hammer observed. There is an S-trap under the sink. The window can't be opened. It's got a permanent opening to it, but not good for really good for cross-flow ventilation in this instance. Not the ideal detail. But the rake ceilings, there is this cover of a vent, but no extraction fan appears to be installed over that vent, or at least nothing that is in working order. To the southern side of the upper level is this sitting room, carpeted floor coverings over what appears to be a timber floor. Rake timber ceilings, again a beam that's too high to get in there and actually tap that beam and sound it for hollows as such. Brick and gypsum plasterboard walls and timber lined walls with timber linings. Certainly they have bowed out or delaminated from the framing, and that always raises the concern that concealed faults may exist to the timber framing. We see a little bit of moisture markings at the base of that wall, and that would be where the lead flashings of the roof to the exterior may have leaked at some time in the past. Now with this lower level roof void, certainly no access can be gained into those lower level roof voids, and there is plenty of potential for faults to go undetected to any inaccessible areas, and that's always a concern. So the lead flashings towards this western side, where they've repaired it or sealed it with sealants, those sealants eventually will dry and eventually will need to be repaired or replaced. So looking at the details thermally and not getting any significant thermal inconsistencies as such, I always get really concerned where in buildings that I inspect of this age that do have the rake ceilings, it's just so common to have termite damage, and that termite damage to go totally undetected during the inspection. Just over the rake ceiling, we do have a little bit of thermal inconsistency above the boards. Again, really no evidence of moisture penetration, but there is a bit of a thermal inconsistency just to that particular detail around those knots in the timber. Looking at some of these upper level external clad details, some cover strips are broken off or missing, and you may need some those details may need some future attention. Now you've got a liquid amber tree that is overhanging the tree, growing very close to proximity to the dwelling, and obviously those tree limbs that overhang again shed a fair bit of debris onto the roofing details, and various fallen bits of tree limbs and whatnot have been falling on the tiles. Various tiles have been replaced in the past, and it's not uncommon to get a cracked tile and have to replace an individual tile from time to time. So just reiterating, these glazed doors, this is an internal glazed door. Once again, that annealed glass, always the risk of breakage, and that it could break into shards, and shards could cause lacerations, particularly under the level of 1 metre. Just above this glazed door between the master bedroom and this sitting room, we get a bit of a loose brick that ideally needs to be reset in the correct manner. Western bedroom of the upper level, carpeted flooring, timber and gypsum plasterboard linings, rake ceilings, once again, areas where faults could potentially go undetected. Built-in robe with the door, there is no door stopper fitted, so where the handle hits the gypsum plasterboard, it can cause some damage, so certainly worthwhile getting some door stoppers fitted. Rear balcony to the western side of the upper level, tiled balcony detail, has a considerable fall. I've not tested the drainage, but there is a gutter detail along the edge, which is sort of beneficial. No evidence at the moment of any moisture penetration to areas below, but I haven't been downstairs yet. There's also no evidence of moisture penetration between that interface of the tiled flooring and the external wall. That's a real weak spot, and it's pretty common for moisture to get into concealed areas, and only after a decay advances does that become evident. These soffit linings, fibro, it's an aged fibro, more than likely to contain asbestos, and these do appear to have been exposed to some moisture from overflowing gutters over the years. Some of these trims have decayed out and really need a bit of attention. There are roller shutters fitted to the 3 upper level bedroom window details to this western side, which is beneficial. Timber fascia board, certainly weathered, very important to seal the joints of those timber fascias so you don't get moisture wicking into the grain of the timber and the like, and also all these nail holes or fixings. You can see how that moisture starts to get into the surrounds and decay starts to occur. So all these joints of timbers, really important to seal them properly so you don't get that decay occurring. Looking along this northern wall, there is a bit of a ledge detail, and that ledge detail, ideal for water to come up and just get up against the wall and then work its way into those wall cavities. And what we get concerned about is moisture working its way into the cavities, and then that moisture attracting the likes of termites. Certainly a lot of maintenance is needed. Sealants need to be reapplied periodically as part of general ongoing maintenance. Surface mounted plumbing running down this northern side of the dwelling, so it's easy for a plumber to access those particular details. And it would appear that that's just stormwater running down, and we've got an enclosed stormwater pipe into the box cutter detail. Being a box cutter detail, certainly if it gets blockages, it can overflow the surrounding areas, and you've got all that material coming from these trees overhanging the roof detail, which is not ideal. You really want to prune that liquid amber back so it doesn't overhang the actual roof itself. Lower level, there's this timber pergola type detail. You see where you get splits in the tops of the timber. Moisture gets into that timber, you start to get decay in the core of the timber. So really important to get that sealed. You may consider putting metal flashing over the top, keeps the moisture out, and really extends the durability of such details. That lower roof detail we looked at before, again, all those tiles have been replaced, and gutters full of silt, etc. Just right over on the top roof, there's a bit of a flashing detail. It looks pretty untidy. Again, a detail that may need some future attention. Upper level northwest bedroom, carpeted flooring, again creaks to the flooring, timber wall linings along that northern side, aluminium sliding window with the door out to the rear balcony. Certainly see sagging of the ceiling linings, and that's because of exposure to humidity over the years. Generally, things appear to be okay. There is a split air conditioning unit fitted to the northern side, and that unit appeared to be in working order. Built-in robe also appears to be serviceable, just the interior of the robes. Certainly some redecoration may need to be considered. Rake ceilings all appear to be okay. We do get a little bit of thermal inconsistency just over on the western side of this room. Quite possibly a little bit of moisture has been getting into that concealed area, and that goes to do with all those sealants that I spoke about for the exterior. Once again, we've got a timber beam that's set high that I can't tap that particular beam. The lower beam all appears to be sound, and no issues to those beams observed at this time. Lounge room detail, we've got timber wall linings, timber ceiling linings. These exposed timber beams all appear to be sound timbers with no hollows observed at this time. Once again, reiterating that full protection that needs to be added from the dining room down to this mid-level lounge area. There is a split air conditioning unit fitted to the northern side, and that air conditioning unit appears to be in working order at this time. Looking at the details thermally, not getting any significant thermal inconsistencies. Particularly worry about that northern wall, that we could get moisture penetration from that ledge above, but nothing there at this stage. All appears to be pretty straightforward with no major issues observed at this time. For the area where we've got the piano, we certainly do have moisture penetration coming in from above, and that moisture penetration is current, so that's coming from one of the bathroom details or the shower recess above that particular detail, and we can actually see that moisture just increasing as we're going. So looking at this moisture, you can see that it's actually dripped right through, and obviously the shower recess to the area above, or one of the bathroom components, has a leak that is occurring down to this area, and just with my brief test that is shown through, and we can see that it has occurred in the past because we've got those additional moisture stains to the surroundings. Living room to the western side of the dwelling. Now this living room is actually under the tiled balcony of the upper level. Aluminium windows, timber lined walls, timber lined ceiling. Generally things appear to be quite okay. Once again, we've got these roller shutters to the western side and to the northern side, which really are considered to be beneficial, and they're all in working order. Aluminium sliding door out to a balcony on this mid-level, and the sliding door is deadlocked at this stage, so I couldn't test it. Quite common for the plastic wheels to have a bit of wear to them in a building of this age. Just look up in the corner, we see a little bit of moisture damage or moisture staining that has occurred. There has been a little bit of moisture penetration coming in from that balcony above, but certainly when I look at it thermally, no ongoing leak has been observed to that particular detail. Room to the western side of this mid-level, carpeted flooring, glazed door out to that mid-level balcony. Timber ceilings generally appear to be quite okay, and then there's some bathroom detail. Some of the doors are binding slightly, just need to be used and adjusted as part of general ongoing maintenance. There has been a little bit of building settlement over the time. Just reiterating with the doors, that glazing, that's a nail glass, and also the doors need to be used and adjusted. This door to the exterior is binding slightly. Balcony detail, once again, the tiles have a bit of a fall out to the exterior, or the western side of the dwelling, and I've not tested the drainage, but it appears to be quite reasonable. Again, weathering of timbers, where you get the moisture coming in, very important to seal all those timbers. That does require maintenance. The same goes with the balustrade. You see moisture wicking into the base of these timbers, and where you get the moisture in between the joints of the uprights and the railings, always areas where decay can develop over time, so maintenance is required. And the exterior of the building ideally needs to be cleaned up. Now, as a rule of thumb, you should wash the exterior of the building once every 2 years, repaint once every 8 to 10 years. Looking at these timber beams of the pergola, where we looked at it from above beforehand, you can see all that advanced decay, and that just has shaped the hollows. As I said, when we tap the timbers, we detect those hollows, and in this case, it's all cubic rock that has occurred to those particular timbers. Downpipes, water markings around the joints quite often indicates some blockages of the stormwater dispersal system, and that may need to be cleared periodically. Southern living room of the mid-level, carpeted floor coverings, timber ceilings, and gypsum plasterboard walls, or the timber lined walls generally appears to be quite okay. In this area, I just get a bit concerned where I see all the details are finished with this stain finish, and then they've painted and clad a timber beam. So the condition of that beam, obviously, I can't tell what the condition is at this time. Certainly not getting any higher than normal moisture readings to the surroundings of that particular detail. But where things have been painted up, quite possibly it has been because there's been exposed to moisture over the time, or other concealed faults may exist. So looking at those areas where we get that little bit of staining under that tiled roof above, I'm not seeing any current significant thermal inconsistencies as such. Again, areas where we get some moisture staining to boards, quite possibly condensate has been a contributing factor. Mid-level bathroom contains a toilet, shower recess, and vanity. Tile flooring, visible floor waste in this instance. Toilet appears to be bedded okay. There is nice and stable. Water flows good, and no cracks to the porcelain, and no leaks observed to any of the plumbing. Shower recess, no current evidence of moisture penetration to surrounding areas, but like the shower recess above, I only discovered that later on. The water flow of the shower rose is fine. Once again, reiterating, the surrounding the shower spindles may need to be resealed, and that needs to be done periodically. See that one of the tap washers is leaking, and also needs a repair by a plumber. Vanity unit appears to be fine. Water flow is good. No water hammer observed, and there is a trap under that sink detail. No access could be gained over the ceiling. There is an extraction fan fitted to the ceiling, and it is functional. And we've got just that exposed timber beam again. All those timbers are sound. It is a bit of a clad detail, so obviously it covers some sort of other detail, and always a concern when we see those cover plates that have been installed, so we may have some concealed damage, so to speak. Spiral stair detail to the lower level. This upper balustrade all appears to be okay. The banister, as it goes down the spiral stair, those uprights have too big a distance. It's a bigger distance than 125mm sphere can pass through, so therefore it doesn't provide the appropriate fall protection. Lower level rumpus room, concrete slab on ground in this instance, brick or rendered masonry walls to the western side and to the northern side. To the southern side, we've actually got a timber clad or fly clad sort of wall detail. We do have this sort of straw, if you like, type ceiling. Those ceilings were sort of commonly installed in the 1970s. You can't really paint those ceilings. They absorb so much paint, get so much weight if you do try to paint them, that they simply collapse. So with the ceiling of that type, you try to retain it for as long as possible. If you ever do need to redecorate it, unfortunately, in most cases, you've actually just got to replace it with some gypsum plasterboard ceiling linings or the like. Timber walls of the lower level appear to be okay. They are exposed to the rear subfloor, so you do get a little bit of mould growth on those walls due to condensate and vapours that transpire through those wall details. Recess around the spiral stair generally appears to be okay. There are a couple of areas where you've got a void, and that's an inaccessible void, certainly potential for faults to go undetected to those voids. Not a bad idea to put some static vents in those sorts of voids to at least allow for some air circulation. The same goes with that enclosed void to the northern side of this lower area. Steel spiral stair has carpet coverings over the steel treads, generally appears to be quite okay. The welds all appear to be quite reasonable, and no major issues in that detail. Sliding door to the rear exterior, generally good working order, no excessive wear to the wheels. With the sliding doors, really important to keep the bottom tracks properly clean, because any build-up of debris or dirt in those details really does take a toll on or wears the wheels of those sliding doors. Subfloor area is accessible from this lower level, and we've got a sliding door into the subfloor. Obviously around the timber frame you do see a little bit of mould, just simply because of the environment within the subfloor, and it's a mould and dust sort of combined together, the soils and surfaces. So I've got very narrow voids down behind timber framed walls of the lower level. Plenty of scope there for termites to come up from the ground into the timber framing and go totally undetected. And that timber framing having direct contact with the ground and direct contact with the upper level flooring, you get that real risk factor of concealed termite egress as such. Now you do have ancaps. The joints of the ancaps have not been fully soldered, and the ancaps don't extend right under all the timber sections, so they're not considered effective for the intended purpose. Because you can't replace those sorts of details or install in post-construction, hence I have to recommend that you consider putting in some herbicides into the soils to overcome those deficiencies of the ancapping. Looking at the base of the wall details, or at the bottom side of the subfloor, again the timber frame being right down into the ground, a real risk factor as far as termites go, but you just need to realise that. You look at these straw type ceiling panels, they're quite thick, and they just can't be painted up, so just realise that. Silt has built up in some of these channels, so that all needs to be cleaned out properly, and you see all that sort of mould over the sliding door, and just indicative of a poorly ventilated subfloor as such. Underside of the mid-level bathroom, certainly no evidence of moisture penetration to surrounding areas observed. Plumbing looks to be okay. These earthenware drain pipes are aged. Some have been replaced with plastic, obviously, because there's been blockages in the yard at some time in the past. So within the subfloor, looking at the surrounds of that bathroom, really no evidence of moisture penetration. There's a little bit of staining, but more likely due to condensate rather than leaks in the shower recess itself. Upper level flooring, hardwood flooring, here and there you get moisture penetration coming in from the cavities, and it's inevitable that some moisture egress will occur to buildings over the years. Wherever you get plant overgrowth coming through, always a concern, because termites can utilise that plant overgrowth, and as the plant overgrowth grows in girth, it can cause some issues. High side of the subfloor area, always the high risk area where termites could potentially go undetected. So the underside of this laundry detail generally appears to be okay. You do see that you get that little bit of moisture coming through from that high side area, and that's the risk area of concealed termite egress as such. So these voids down under the internal stair generally all appear to be okay. We see that the walls extend into the subfloor area. Framing looks to be pretty good. Really no evidence of hollows. That lower level framing also not seeing any evidence of hollows or the like. There we go. Interesting. We've got a little bit of the history of termites that have come up through the timber framing just around the enclosure of the spiral stair when viewed within the subfloor. So there's been a little bit of history. Certainly no indication of any current termite activity or the like. So one of the nice things is that they were aware of the termite risks, and they did run additional ancapping details to various details in anticipation of having problems of this building. It's probably why it has held up so well over so many years. So I've got this steel post. It is supporting a beam, or posts, and those posts are rusted. Worthwhile getting them painted up to prolong the durability of those details. Where I do get an opportunity to look into floor cavities, not seeing anything overly significant. You just do see where those ceiling linings do bow down or sag slightly, simply because of exposure of years of exposure to humidity. Now with some of these voids, very hard to get in there and clean it out, but certainly worthwhile putting the effort in to try and clean out some of those details. See, some of those voids are really narrow. We just can't get in there. Always the risk that concealed issues may exist to those areas. Coming back up to the eastern side of the subfloor, once again, that's always the high risk area of where termites are going to gain concealed egress. Ancapping isn't too bad in that area, but once again, I would suggest that you do get a termite treatment put in place. Now, this is the real high risk area. Immediately outside the subfloor, we can see sections of that timber decking that's been attached to the exterior of the dwelling. That's been a pretty poor choice in the sense that it really has increased the risk of termites gaining concealed egress quite significantly. Just on the lower level, the sliding door out to the rear exterior, the head height or clearances of that door opening are low and lower than is normally acceptable. Okay, coming down under the to the rear of the dwelling, we've got first of all this timber deck attached to the western exterior of the dwelling. Timber decking, certainly with the detail, and quite typical for that type of wear and tear as such. There is additional timber decking up along this southern side, and some of that decking I've got to see if we're able to gain access underneath. So once again, where decking's attached to the exterior of the building, always that heightened risk of concealed termite egress. Looking at these timbers to the lower level, there is they do appear to be quite okay. All Oregon, not seeing any evidence of the likes of termites to these particular details. So all those timbers, nice solid sounding and quite okay. So this timber decking extends right out to obviously the northern side of the dwelling as well. The balustrades of the timber decking, again we've got those large openings, and there's no full protection to those particular details. Underside of the upper level balcony, we see where a little bit of moisture has come through, and we saw that from the upper side as well, and that's along the interface with the wall, and that's what I speak about, that you can get that sort of moisture egress occurring into the concealed areas. It's unfortunate, but sometimes decay does develop to the concealed timbers in those areas. Certainly see weathering, and where some repairs have been carried out in the past where moisture has wicked into various timbers over the years. Once we get further along, there is this flashing that does exist. It has sagged down right in the corner, but again, overall those details do look to be quite reasonable. Open tread stair that comes down into this rear yard, once again direct contact with the ground. Ideally separation of the timbers from the ground would be ideal. Stair tread and stair stringer, again need to seal those joints of the timbers. Downpipes to this rear side, just free flowing to the ground, so that's not the ideal. That regular moisture to the ground can be favourable for the likes of termites, and it would be preferable to have it to an appropriate stormwater dispersal system. So the old paths in the rear yard certainly have been lifted and sunken due to ground movement and water flows over the years. Lattice infills to the underside of the rear decking detail, with the lattice always has the potential to provide termites with concealed egress. Liquid amber tree in the rear yard, growing very close to the dwelling, so tree roots would extend under the dwelling, and with the tree roots of a liquid amber tree, they do grow rapidly in girth and can be quite destructive to in-ground drains and the like, and also cause foundation movement. So looking at the rear exterior, obviously needs a bit of clean up. You get the moisture running off those balcony details down the external wall cladding. Again, not the ideal, but it does happen. Any of the mature trees in the rear yard, it's certainly worthwhile having them test drilled for the presence of termites and treated accordingly. A lot of dead wood located in tree canopies, and that dead wood ideally should be removed by a tree lopper or the like. You've got the target, and fallen limbs can cause injury, so to speak. Now, with these Zingophorus in particular, and some of the eucalypts, you do get a phenomenon called summer branch drop with some of those trees on very still, humid day. Metal colour bond fence down the southern boundary generally looks to be okay. I haven't got too close up to it. It is concealed by plant overgrowth, and you've got to climb through the bush to get to the whole thing. Sprinkler systems fitted to the yard. Now, with sprinkler systems, they're great at providing moisture for the likes of plants, but that moisture is also favourable for the likes of termites. So just realise that risk factor does exist with the likes of sprinkler systems. So coming out to the backyard, just to the rear of the property, is this chain wire, pipe and wire type fence detail, and you've got the open bushland directly below going right down to the river area. It is a very steep escarpment within that bush area. Obviously the trees would have plenty of termite activity occurring, and that termite activity would be going totally unchecked. It is the natural bush environment. As far as ground stability and rock stability goes, I don't make comment on any of that. That really is the expertise of the geotechnical engineer, and with regard to rock stability, you would need to get a geotechnical engineer to assess the ground in that sense. So trees have evidence of termites in them, to be expected in such an environment. There are termites within relatively close proximity to the inspected dwelling. So coming up along this southern exterior of the dwelling, again, no landing to that door from the dining room out to the southern side. The landing ideally should be fitted, or fall protection fitted. That's all detail. Plant overgrowth of these details, certainly obstructive visual inspection. Loosely seated retaining walls appear to be okay. Timbers of the decking, direct contact with the ground, plenty of endoscope for termites to go undetected to these details. Going tree stumps in very close proximity to the dwelling quite often attract termite activity as part of the natural decay process. You'll see evidence of termites to this particular stump detail, and having in such close proximity, even though I've not seen any active termites, always a concern, and appropriate treatments need to be carried out. So can't get in under all these southern deck details. They're completely blocked off, and certainly plenty of potential for termites to go undetected for termites nests to establish. A lot of rock under this lower decking detail, obviously been exposed to a bit of moisture, but overall still considered to be generally serviceable. The property has been connected to septic tanks in the past. Some of those pipes are broken. More than likely that the septic tanks are no longer functional. Always a risk as surrounding septic tanks that they could attract termites as such. One would assume that it has been connected to some sort of town sewer, but that said, you do need to check the sewer diagrams that should be included in the contract, and also check with the Sydney Water whether the property is connected to main sewer. Just in the rear yard, I do see this inspection opening. That really does indicate an inspection opening going towards a main sewer. Where that main sewer runs, I really cannot tell from surface observation, so to speak. Air conditioning condenser unit seated along this northern exterior of the dwelling. It does obstruct visual inspection to some degree. Timber stairs and landings along this northern side. Once again, they are timbers that are exposed and timbers that need to be maintained on a regular basis. All these landing details obviously lack the appropriate fall protection to such details. The underside of the tiled flooring to the entry porch generally appears to be okay. It does go right up into the ground, but overall that detail does appear to have been reworked at some time in the past. So trying to get up to the underside of that entry porch or along the northern side, you see that the timber's in direct contact with the ground, and plenty of potential for, again, termites to gain concealed egress. A very high risk sort of building. I know I repeat myself and probably scare you, but you just got to realise those risk factors. Tiled flooring to this front porch detail along this northern side. It is just suspended timber with the compressed fibre cement and the tiles over the top, and then the front porch itself is a bit of suspended concrete detail. Line soffit over the front porch appears to be reasonable. Located within the garage now, looking at this roller door as it's operational, all appears to be quite okay and in good working order. So looking at the roof frame of the garage, it is a truss roof frame and H detail, but certainly appears to be quite okay. There is sarking to the underside of the roof tiles. The sarking obstructs visual inspection of those roof tile battens. I do see that there is wasp mudding to various details, and that shouldn't be mistaken for the likes of termite damage, but a couple of areas where moisture has got in over the years and no capping over the top of the walls. It's not required in that instance. Overall, it certainly appears to be serviceable. You've got to remember that it's been standing here for a long, long time and proven to be quite serviceable. Naturally, the garage contains stored items and a vehicle and furniture, and that obstructed visual inspection to a fair degree, and certainly faults could potentially go undetected. Electrical board is the southern side of the dwelling. There is ceramic fuses and a leakage or safety switch that has been installed. Age wiring, obviously, there is no sign indicating any previous termite treatment to the property. Had termite treatment been carried out to the property, there should have been a durable sign indicating what was done, when was done, and by whom located this electrical meter board. LED flashing over the meter board, a few tears occurring, and we just look back at those LED flashings from this point of view, and again you see those tears that are occurring in those LED flashings, quite typical for that type of detail. Also, some of the glazing rubbers of windows are aged, stretched, and may eventually need to be replaced. The drain from the hot water unit, located in the laundry, is just draining out this side wall. Has been connected with the garden hose to take it away from the external wall, which is beneficial. We've got this cubby house detail seated on some brick piers. I don't make comment on that sort of cubby house. There's certainly potential for termites to go undetected. Along the southern railing fence, evidence of termite damage, and that is quite clear to see, and obviously there are quite a few termites in the area. I'm not seeing current activity in those timbers, but I'm not going to break them completely open. It's quite obvious that they're around. Located within the roof void, accessible from the kitchen area. Timber framing appears to be okay. There is a fair bit of accumulated dust. We do have markings where rodents and possums have been into these areas over the many years, but overall the framing all looks to be quite okay. As I keep searching for the hot water unit, following these pipes back through, they obviously extend up onto the roof. As they run up into that inaccessible roof void, one would assume that the hot water unit would be a solid unit located on the roof somewhere in an area that's simply obstructed from my visual inspection. So the accumulated dust in the joints of the timbers quite often can be mistaken for termite workers. In this case, it's just the dust that's blown in over the years. So looking at the western side of the roof, we've got our hot water unit, which is a solar hot water unit located on the roof. It is an aging unit. Assumed to have a storage capacity of around about 315 litre storage capacity. There is lolly bird fitted to the roof and antenna fitted to the roof. Rich mortar generally appears to be okay. There has been some repairs with sealants. That's not the ideal type of repair to the roof. You should be using mortars where possible, ideally. The cowl to the sewer vent is rusted and probably will need to be replaced. replaced at some time in the future. Again, we've got these leaf gutter guards fitted to the roof details. Okay, having viewed the video, obviously probably scared you a bit and raised plenty of areas of concern. No need to be overly alarmed. You know, take things in context, and in my opinion, the house is quite average and quite reasonable for what it is. And most Australians live in houses that have details that would be desirable to improve those details. And you've got to realise that you're never going to find the perfect house or the perfect property. So it's just about being more knowledgeable, knowing what you've got, what's there in its current state, so to speak. So there's really nothing that should necessarily deter you from the purchase process, so to speak. At the end of the day, you've got to take it all in context. The most important things are always areas with moisture. Have to be high on the priority list to get them repaired. So we've seen that moisture within that lower level area, living area, on the lounge over the piano, and that's leaking from the bathrooms above. Obviously, that needs to be a priority to get that sort of repair done. We worry about moisture attracting the likes of termites. The fact that there's been a history of termites, to be expected. Building in this location, you're going to have termites in the yard. The building also having a bit of a history, I wouldn't expect anything different, so to speak. Always a question of termite activity. I didn't observe termite activity at this point of time, and that history of termites in the building certainly dried out and really insignificant for what I was able to observe. Always the concern is conducive conditions for termites and the susceptibility of termites from here on in. So the termites can gain concealed egress, cause a lot of damage, go totally undetected, always a concern. When you find termite activity, you're forced to do a termite treatment. When you don't find termite activity and you only observe a bit of a history and areas of conducive conditions, people quite often put off doing a termite treatment, and all of a sudden they find that they've got a problem down the track. So take that into consideration. It'd be nice to alter a lot of those details that are conducive or susceptible to termites, but you can't do it all, obviously, and that's where chemicals come into play. So I hope that you found the video very useful. The great thing about the video is that you can rewind and look again and again at various details. You can send it off and share it with all your friends, colleagues and family, and really worthwhile doing so because their feedback can be also valuable. I suppose, on a closing note, I do a lot to get these videos together so you can understand the property. Word of mouth is always nice and is the best form of advertising, obviously. So, if you want to give me a compliment or you do appreciate the work, then obviously word of mouth is probably the best sort of thank you that I could get. So from here, just wishing you the best for the rest of the purchase process. And if you've got any questions, please get back to me and ask me those questions.